is turning into just a complete mess for the president. It's the economy that's the biggest issue for Republicans as they look towards November. Last time we spoke, the House certainly seems heavily favored to go Democrats, but more and more in that party also feel fairly bullish about the Senate as well, starting to think about places like Ohio and Iowa, Maine, even Alaska. The list continues to go on. The map seems to be expanding. What's your take there about the upper chamber?
The Senate is on the table here. When the president's approval rating is at or below 40%, that is when you start to see these deeper pickups in much more Republican heavy terrain. And the states that you just listed, Ohio and Alaska and Iowa, are places that Trump won handily in 2024, and Republicans tend to do well. But if you look at the performance of Democrats in these special elections and these off-year elections, you're seeing enthusiasm skewed towards Democrats in terms of turnout. And what you're also seeing is deflated enthusiasm and sort of a turning from independents towards Democrats, who independents in 2024.
Why would you not? You're dealing with a society over here that is a throwaway plus a demanding society that if they don't get their way immediately, well, they get to looking for other alternatives. That's the reason why we're floating from the far right to the far left, to back to the far right, back to the far left, being wish-washy of a group of people that really has no earthly ideal towards not only what's going on, but basically want their cake and eat it too. And the realization towards being $39 trillion in debt, trillion with a T, still obviously has not set into their minds by thinking that they're invincible. You're dealing with a confused, mixed up group of people over here in America that has been led down the wrong path. And I want to say something about the war right now that it looks like it's fixing to initiate itself back into a combat zone. It looks that way. I don't know for sure that it is, but so many times you've heard me talk about surrender. Surrender. What king maketh war with another king to set it not down first and consider it whether or not he's going to consult his 10,000 against those about 100,000. In all perspectives, I'm more of a spiritual guider than I am a political guider, because you've heard me say before, it's time for you to surrender. It's time for you to put your material as well as your immaterial weapons down. What is the material weapons? That's the political weapons. What is the immaterial weapons? That is the spiritual weapons. Okay? I cover more under the guidelines of the spiritual weapons pertaining to what God can do and what God has promised to do, more so than a political stance, because I'm not a political leader. I'm not a political leader. And the bottom line is this. If our chief and commander has got us into something that obviously is going to cost the American people, you don't blame that on me. You blame that on your political leaders. You don't blame that on me. Because I started preaching 30 plus years ago that the time had come for Satan to lay down his material as well as his immaterial weapons down. I just want to clarify that. You got to explain yourself to the public like almost talking to kindergartners, because if not, they're going to start setting their minds in the way that they want to set their minds, and the next thing you know, they'll be coming down here wanting to stick probes and probs in me towards making me wanting to walk the plank. Hey, all I am is the messenger to the messages. The messages is coming out of the Bible. Now, whether or not you want to believe it, whether or not you want to support it, that will be up to you. But the bottom line is that I'm going by the promises that was not only given to me, but given to all of us, that he would not forsake us, that he would be with us even until the ends of the world, and that the meek shall inherit the earth. Now, if the political parties cannot fulfill their end of the bargain, well, then don't blame that on me. Don't blame that on me pertaining to what's going on right now with Donald Trump and his war over there that I still support, based around the analogy that if they was making nuclear bombs, if they did have the impression or the intentions towards rich uranium, going to make nuclear bombs of a group of people that can't be trusted, I support the war 100%. 100%. Now, all the rest of these wish-washy people, they're going to run off in 10,000 different directions because they don't know what's going on. And they don't realize the severity of the threats that we was facing. But now, if you don't explain that and express that to the American people properly, well, then they're going to be left out in the cold, and they're basically going to think whatever that they want to think, the way that they want to think it.
This is render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God. The Pope's supposed to talk about religion, Mr. Vice President. That's what he talks about.
That's right. That's right. I agree with that.
To talk about religion. That's a strange, odd thing for a convert to a religion to tell the Pope.
Right.
And see, that's one of the things that's got us mixed up over here in America is political want to dibble-dabble around with spiritual, and the spiritual people want to dibble-dabble around with political. And I can't say that it ain't that way in my life, because the way that I've been attacked from a political perspective, I really had no other alternative other than to express some of my political views out to the American people. I really didn't have no other choice because I was attacked. And the only way that I can defend myself is to speak out. And a lot of times I speak out towards letting people know that, hey, I'm just as much for the American government pertaining to our original Constitution and what our forefathers believed in as anybody else. Because I love this country and I love the things that we have built and accomplished throughout the sacrifices throughout the 250 years plus that we've been over here in America. So I really didn't have no other alternative other than to express myself in letting people know how I feel. It's the people that obviously don't engage towards accepting or interpreting the things that people are saying and putting them in the right category as far as compartmentalizing things. Just like any military, you got the chief and commander, and then you got the 4-star and a 3-star and a 2-star, and then you go on down to everybody else. You got different categories. It's the same way in the spiritual realm, regardless whether it's the evil spiritual realm or the good spiritual realm. They've got different categories, compartmentalizing things.
That is his MO. This time around, he's found himself in a situation where he's pulling all the tools from the toolbox, but they aren't doing the job that he wants them to do.
Because he don't know how to express himself.
Lounge singer, the greatest.
Because he don't know how to express himself, and you got to admit that he did lie to the American people about the economy. He was going to fix this, he was going to fix that, he was going to pull us out of this, he was going to pull us out of that, and he was supposed to have been a president of peace, right? But yet, no. Had nobody picked up the telephone, called the founder of the Jesus Christ Jubilees Windmill Ministries missions over here at 291 Thompson Road, Sharon, Tennessee, zip code 38255. Matter of fact, I don't even get no response from the preachers or the teachers or the deacons or just the plain layman people here at this address towards people wanting to support the things that I'm teaching and preaching and telling people about. I don't know if they're that bewildered. I don't know if they're that frightened and scared. I don't know if they realize that there has been a great mistake here made pertaining to the political parties and the baby boomers. I don't know if they just don't know which way to go. I don't know. That's the reason why that I express myself the way that I do whenever I make these video links.
Here in America.
MS Now political analyst Matt Bartlett, president of Impact Research Molly Murphy, thank you both. Chris Matthews, thank you as well. Chris's new piece titled Don't Despise Your Enemy Too Much is available on his Substack. Coming up, our next guest has a new memoir about Luke.
See, I disagree with that statement. I think that you can't disagree with your enemy enough. I mean, you got to look at the facts of Christ never, not one time, spoke lightly of his enemy pertaining to the adversary out to kill, steal, and destroy. Not one time did he speak lightly of the adversary out to kill, steal, and destroy. Not one time. So whenever you get to looking at some of the statements made on media, it makes you wonder, well, no wonder we're in the shape that we're in right now. No wonder we're going backwards.
Catch the suspects, likely because of some of those trackers. All that is to say, local and federal law enforcement, they have had recent success of finding and charging folks who rob armored trucks. Kate?
That is wild, Danny. All right, and danger. I mean, super scary as this now is still underway. Thank you so much. We're going to stick close to Danny Freeman on this one. And for us, coincidence or something else, at least 10 scientists tied to sensitive research.
You've heard me say that during desperate times, demand desperate people doing desperate things. The more and more that the American political parties fail pertaining to what's going on,
New and alarming lows.
the more that we're going to see desperate people doing desperate things. Because why? I mean, you can just look at the statistics right now. It almost is a weekly occurrence of seeing a police officer killed, slain in the line of duty. You can go back 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. It was almost unheard of. It was almost unheard of if you go back far enough. But today, we get one a week. Why? Why is that? It's because our laws and our judges and our courts has become so lax. People think that they're going to be able to commit these heinous crimes. It's kind of the same way with children. You got all these children out here that know that if they commit a heinous act, odds are of them getting a capital punishment towards a death sentence is slim to none. Because of it, that basically gives them a free pass out of jail, or a free pass towards at least not being executed for the same purposes of what they're doing towards executing others, in thinking that they're going to get away with this. Until we stiffen our laws, until we really get down where the rubber meets the road in what has occurred here, and I tend to wonder which is the worst as far as putting the fault either upon the political parties or the spiritual parties pertaining to the preachers or the politicians, of which one that I should cast the stone at of the first. Because obviously people has been misguided, they have been strayed, they have been led in believing all these crazy fantasy ideals about what our government either should or shouldn't be, and it has put our lives in jeopardy. You do not have to be a rocket scientist to figure that out by going to the pump, seeing pain at the pump every day, and then seeing how that the merchants are taking advantage of the regular civilian life, of how that they're jacking up all the prices. And there's no doubt because of what Donald Trump has done with the rising of the taxation of different things, that it has made a burden fall upon to the merchants pertaining to the businesses out there, and they really have no other choice other than to pass it on down to the common people, their business sector. But the fact of the matter is, this thing is way out of tune, and I said all along that was the reason why that I refused to want to vote for either the Democrat Party or the Republican Party, that it's just totally out of sync of where it either should or shouldn't be.
And so I think that people in America really need to be aware. President Trump is a very transparent president. Just because the Epstein files aren't fully released according to what people's desires are doesn't mean that he and the administration aren't releasing as much as possible. This is compared to the JFK files, how long did it take? There were other presidents that never released those files. President Trump did, and he's talking more about what's going on with UFOs and with other mysteries that we're all concerned about as citizens. And so I give President Trump a lot of credit for being transparent.
I want to ask you about another ethics issue before we turn back to some phone calls. Indicted Democratic Congresswoman Sheila Sheriff-Lewis McCormick resigned yesterday before the expected release of a House Ethics Committee report investigating her actions into misappropriation of funds. We know that 2 congressmen last week resigned before an ethics investigation could get underway.
Yeah.
Most ethics investigations end when a member resigns. Is that the proper way to proceed if the charges or allegations warrant more investigation?
As far as Congress goes, we have jurisdiction over House members. We don't have jurisdiction over senators. So we only have jurisdiction over the House. When a House member resigns, we lose that jurisdiction. But if there's criminal allegations, then that should turn into a criminal investigation by prosecutors, whether it's the DOJ, whether it's state prosecutors or local prosecutors. So,
Period. No ifs, ands, buts about it. You can't brush it around. You can't squange it. You can't put lipstick on a pig and think you're going to make the pig look any better. Period.
Safe Motherhood Initiative that helps reduce maternal deaths, eliminating the Division of Population Health that helps increase early detection of Alzheimer's and other dementias, and eliminating the Office on Smoking and Health that reduces tobacco use, still the #1 cause of preventable death in the United States. If everyone from
I thought heart attacks was, and then cancer. That's what I thought. I don't know.
raises serious concerns about Health and Human Services' ability to carry out these and other programs, such as the bold infrastructure.
How can you have these programs going on whenever you have a government that's shut down right now, or temporarily shut down? I mean, you got to face the facts of what's going on right now.
And the flight crew that was out there conducted amazing operations and rescued over 230 people. And your rescue swimmers do amazing things off of each of our coasts. And they put themselves in positions that most likely sometimes when they jump in the water, they know they're not coming back. And I'm assuming our rescue swimmers are continuing to do their job, correct?
Yes, sir. We continue to do national security missions, and those missions affecting life and property. And so we do have our rescue swimmers out there every day responding.
And that's a global footprint too, correct? Not just off our coasts?
That's correct, yes.
And that lends itself to national security, correct?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Anderson, as far as CISA goes, at what point, if we don't have the ability to pay our employees and they start to leave, just as well as turnover, at what point will CISA be combat ineffective?
Immediately.
Thank you for your question, sir. It's a continued risk that's evolving each and every single day.
It's immediately.
We have employees that are having to make the choice right now. We have employees that are single. We have one that's a single mother who's having to make the choice right now between continuing to care for her aging parents or continuing to care for her child and be able to pay her bills. That type of calculus for individual employees.
You're putting a burden upon to the American people that they can't stand. There's no way that they can stand this type of a burden. And it's based upon poor leadership pertaining to what's going on right now, pertaining to the parties not being able to agree and pull together for the betterment of the good. It's awful right now, what we're facing. Awful. I've never seen it like it is right now. We're in very, very dangerous waters right now.
Variables here.
Very dangerous waters.
Yeah, it's really challenging, but the FBI absolutely has the jurisdiction to do it, because even though in a situation like this, you're talking about missing persons cases and other homicide cases. Those are violations that are typically investigated by local police authorities, local sheriff's offices, things like that. So, without FBI involvement, you'd have 10 or 11 different investigations going on in a complete.
I've seen some of this on the scientist deal right here. That is very, very hair-raising in thinking that somebody hadn't already put their finger on something like this.
Is for these 330 days. And it was utter torture, torment, misery, angst. Anyone imagine your child, your partner, your sibling, your grandparent, your granddaughter. I mean, we had 251 hostages. Everyone was fighting as hard as they could, knowing they were in horrific conditions, having complete cutoff from them. And that was torture. And also watching John be tortured in that way, and him watching me be tortured, and we suffered horrifically. And then we were told he was executed.
Psychological torture.
All of that. And I had
psychological warfare. We're seeing more of that today than what we've ever had.
oh my gosh, that was the good part. Because we had the hope.
And I blame a lot of that on social media. You know, whenever I tell people that I prayed desperately for social media pertaining to the dragon in speak and spell and speak, and it becoming more of a predominant tool to be able to do this with our handheld devices. I did pray for that, but I didn't pray for all the confusion. I didn't pray for all the psychological warfare that's been going along with it, because people cannot put barriers and control what people are saying on national public broadcasting, which makes it that much more confusing. That really and truly we should blame people like Elon Musk. We should blame the people that has all these social media programs like Facebook and Meta and people like that, because there should be a way for people to say what they want to say in conducting the freedom of speech, but there should be a way to make it be authenticity pertaining to them telling a lie, and there also should be a way to where you can identify real quick of what the dateline, what the time frame is, because so many times you may pick up on something and think, well, this is going on, come to find out, well, heck, it went on a year ago. That was going on a year ago. If you don't stay on top of the media towards micromanaging this stuff going on TV. In the meantime, I got my personal life to have to live by going out here mowing the yard, building this and taking care of this and doing that. I mean, this has become a very, very stressful situation in my life toward me being able to make all these videos. I don't think nobody can understand that or identify that. In addition to me putting my life out there on the line, pretending to basically being out there on a limb, not knowing who's going to come by and try to knock me off of it. But that's that way with anybody that's in the public eye. Unless you're a rock star singer, you know.
Second, and what I'm hopeful is maybe people will be more sensitive to the reality that they don't see the knife sticking out of someone's heart or chest, but it's there. It is actually there.
They don't see it until it's happening to them, just like all these catastrophes. They don't have no empathy or sympathy towards people that's suffering right now up in Wisconsin, or the people out in Oregon, or the people out in Hawaii, or the fires going on in Florida, or all the other flooding events and all the other stuff that people are going through, until they themselves are going through it. Then, all of a sudden, they get to crying, help, 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 help me, help me, help me, even though all them other events that they was aware of, they wasn't helping nobody. They was sitting idly by, out of sight, out of mind. Well, better for them than it is us. Better for them than it is me, you know. Out of sight, out of mind. Why buy the cow if you can get the milk free? These are all negative images of humanity towards basically humanity turning into a bunch of barbarians. And you don't think that the communist countries over there, pretending to China and Russia and all these other people, can see this stuff? Sure they can. Sure they can. The American people's lost their true identity, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to them standing up for the things that's not only constitutionally right, but morally right.
I actually really believe that Hirsch was the perfect son for me, but Hirsch was certainly not perfect. I will say that a few of the values that he had and traits that he had that I think about, and John and I think about a lot. First of all, Hirsch was a radical listener, which you must really appreciate, especially in the current climate that we live in. It's so unusual to have someone who is truly
just a bended ear is what she's talking about. And I can say the same thing about my son, towards him not being a perfect person. But all in all, he turned out to be a perfect son because of that, in which what I was proud of and what that he succeeded as well as bringing me in this world a granddaughter. But ordinarily, you don't start looking at things like that until until you lose that entity or till you lose that person. It's kind of like the old saying where you don't miss the water till the well runs dry. And it's so true. We take advantage of so many people's positions and so many relationships with so many different people, and we don't realize how crucial and how vital and how lucky and how fortunate that we truly are by having that person in our lives.
Two things. One thing is he always carried my bag. Always. It didn't matter how small it was. If it was this teeny tiny bag with just tissues and Band-Aids, he always carried it. And I thought that's like, maybe it's his love language, or maybe I'm projecting it onto him because I want it to be his love language, or maybe he...
It's called respect. It's called honoring your parents.
Other thing that I will say, because recently it struck me, I was somewhere, I'm not going to name names and who did this, but Hirsch always put the toilet seat down. And we did not teach him that. He just did it. Although John does that too, so maybe it's just like he was modeling what he knew. But I thought, good for him, good for him.
So maybe he...
That's really a big deal for women, and men can't understand that. How come a woman can't reach down, take the toilet seat, and take her hand and politely put it down onto the bowl? Well, that's a big deal for women, and because of it, how come men can't compromise just a little bit towards men being consciously positive in that area towards taking care of the women? But there's lots of stuff that women do that they should be consciously aware of pertaining to men too as well, such as stripping off their clothes in front of you and walking around looking like a sex model and thinking that people ain't going to lust after you, because that's the whole intentions towards wearing that type of clothing, or the lack of that type of clothing, is for that purpose. Now, they can scream and yell all they want to, rape, 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 and the courts naturally are going to favor towards the women, but the fact of the matter is we have so much unfair bias courts in this country that it ain't even funny whenever it comes to the men versus the women versus the men, towards what we're doing to each other, towards antagonizing the problems that much even worse.
Well, I would love to think that I'm helping others. I honestly don't know. I will tell you that...
Me too,
I don't think
ma'am.
we get better. And I think people don't want to hear that. And I think that that's actually helpful to say, you know what? When you put a piece of yourself in the ground, or however you
exactly
send off this person who's very integral to the core of who you are and your identity, I don't think you get better. I think you can get stronger, you can get different, you can learn to carry this grief and this pain in a different way that maybe is more graceful.
But it's still going to be there.
And elegant and noble, but I don't think it goes away. And I actually think the language of, are you getting better? It's been a year, it's been 2 years, is a real true...
I want to say this. It's kind of away from the point of what's being made right here. Pertaining to appreciation people and appreciation things, being grateful. I've said 1,000 times, well, I say 1,000 times, I've said many times about my dog Jack. He's now over 2 years old. He's a Pyrenees mixed with a full-blooded German Shepherd coming out of the Pyrenees Mountains out of Australia. That's good for herding cattle dogs, herding sheep and stuff like that. I've said it many, many times how grateful that I am pertaining to this animal, because this animal has really filled a great emotional part in my life, especially since I lost my son, give or take about 6 months ago. And I know that my son loved this dog because my son touched this dog. My son petted this dog. My son was around this dog, okay? Not just once, but several times. As the old saying goes, you don't miss the water till the well runs dry. I realize that so many people in this area, pertaining to the baby boomers, pertaining to those that claim to have a Christianity walk with God, ignored or neglected the very human being that's talking in behind the camera right now, pertaining to not appreciating the things that I was trying to be a part of by putting myself out there on a limb. And I realize at the same time that these same people still are not bringing it to the awareness in public domain about how much that they have failed the generations below them. especially whenever you're trillions and trillions of dollars in debt, and especially whenever you see the unfairnesses of the courts, the way that they'll sway one way just as quickly as they do the other, in not having fundamental values that we used to have back years ago, of how things has gotten twisted and out of shape. I can see both sides of it. I want to say this in ending of what I'm talking about here. And then I'm going to take the camera and I'm going to go outside and show people my project that I got going on right now. And I'm going to explain to them a little bit about what I'm going to do and how I'm going to go about doing it, with me being single out here and not having a party to depend upon and don't want to inconvenience other people pertaining to whatever that I have going out here on towards my needs. Yesterday afternoon late, after I got in, I'd been working out here pretty hard, and I turned on the news and I found out that the president had now elapsed in his threat towards going to start dropping bombs on their infrastructure. In more ways than one, I'm going to be honest with my viewers, in more ways than one, it brought disgrace and shame in thinking, well, what kind of a political leader would make a threat like that and then not own up to it? It'd be the same way in a parent saying, well, if you do that one more time, this is going to be the consequences for doing it. And then the child go ahead and do it, and the parent not pursue that in which what he'd done told the child, and what the child was going to have to, pay the piper for. But I also thought this: out of any way to feel neglected or lied to or let down, I much rather it had been in the form that our government did not pursue in dropping bombs, in killing innocent lives, more so than trying to work out once more a peaceful resolution in trying to work around these problems pertaining to these hard-headed people over there, these barbarians. So I looked at it from two different angles. And I would rather things be done on a diplomacy level, because I don't want to see people harmed and hurt, especially innocent people that don't deserve to be harmed and hurt. There's a difference in the perspective of what we're trying to do versus what Russia is doing towards attacking hospitals and weddings and schools and etc. I mean, you got to look at the facts. And at least we are trying to do the right things. So by me saying all of that, I think that the entrapment, I'm going to use the word entrapment here. I think the entrapment that Donald J. Trump has gotten us into due to the barbarians that was making rich uranium, that was just right at the cutting edge, in which most of your civilian life ain't going to understand the in-depth of the threats involved here. I think that Donald Trump was trying to do the proper things towards Midnight Hammer, as well as this last go-around, in trying to control the uncontrollable over there. Most people, when it comes to liability and responsibility, when it comes to the last person to aboard the ship is the captain. People ordinarily cannot understand the liability thought that comes into play pertaining to the burden upon to a person's heart, a person's soul, a person's psychological being, a person's spirit, whenever they're in the leadership and they have to give an account for all these different things to all these different people. You wonder how come President Lincoln looked the way that he looked due to the Civil War? Well, that was the reason why. Those psychological barriers had a strong negative effect upon to his health. And I guarantee you, if President Lincoln did not have to face off on the things that he faced off on. Let's listen to this real quick.
2-week truce was set to expire. Trump said that at the request of Pakistani mediators, he would hold off on attacking Iran until the country's fractured government, in his words, can come up with a unified proposal. The president, however, added the U.S. military blockade of Iranian ports will remain in place, a move Tehran previously called an act of war. The decision to extend the ceasefire was a significant shift from President Trump's rhetoric in recent days. And just yesterday, in fact, telling CNBC if a deal was not reached by that deadline, he, quote, expected to be bombing. Shortly after that, he extended the ceasefire deadline. Now, with that renewed truce in place, uncertainty surrounds the path to a permanent agreement. The status of negotiations is in limbo after several news outlets reported President J.D. Vance's planned trip to Islamabad yesterday was put on hold. Status of the pause in hostilities already in doubt after an Iranian gunboat just this morning opened fire on a container ship in the Strait of Hormuz, while a second ship came under fire a short time later. That is according to the British military, Joe.
Yeah, so, Gotti, we've talked for some time since this war broke out about the difference between Iraq under Saddam Hussein. You topple one dictator, basically the entire state infrastructure collapses, which happened there. And you go after Iran, and I know David Ignatius and I have had debates for years about the power structure there. How much more powerful are the Ayatollahs and the Revolutionary Guard? How powerful is Parliament? Because during past protests, there has been a give and take. Well, what Donald Trump's finding out right now is that they obviously killed the Ayatollah. They've killed a lot of other leaders, and they have ground down the leadership to perhaps some of the most radical, some of the most militant members of the Revolutionary Guard. And so now the White House is trying to figure out exactly who's in charge, because you have members of the parliament, people who are negotiating, debating with the Revolutionary Guard, who seems to want to place a veto over any deal made with the United States. So the question is, can they make a deal? Don't know. I guess they have to find the people in Iran that have the ability to finish that deal once and for all.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to somebody who'd been involved in the 2015 negotiations and asked them, if you had this crew to negotiate against that's in the position now, basically the IRGC running things, could you have got the JCPOA negotiating? They said not a hope. I mean, it just wouldn't have been possible, because when they were negotiating, they knew that Javad Zarif had the blessing of the Ayatollah to go and do the negotiations. And so it was simple. It was much simpler in some way. It was a very tricky negotiation, but at least you knew that the person you were sitting across the table from during those 20 months of face-to-face negotiations had the power of the leaders of Iran to do the deal that needed to be done. That's just not the case now. I mean, now you had the people that turned up in Pakistan go back home and being attacked back at home politically for what they had negotiated back in Pakistan. So I think that's part of the problem that they're dealing with, right, Ed, is that you have, not only do you have confusion here in Washington about what Donald Trump wants, because it seems to be multiple different things during the course of the day, except that what he really wants is to get out of this, whatever it takes, but they don't know who they're negotiating with in Iran. I mean, do you see any prospect now? I mean, people...
And I truly believe that Donald Trump does want the best for the American people, pertaining to cheaper taxes and pertaining to cheaper gas and pertaining to cheaper food and cheaper this, cheaper that. But under the circumstances pertaining to what he was dealing with or having to deal with basically barbarians over in the Middle East and in other parts of the world, including Africa, the best of plans between man and beast sometimes does go astray. This is what I got going on over here right now. I wanted to show my viewers, which I know it's a little bit maybe awkward in me talking about so many different things, bouncing so many balls around. I had to tie this off last night right here. I also had to tie this off last night right here with another rope. Okay, I had to dig a hole right here, which is basically, it's about, it's a little over 2 feet, about 2.5 feet, something like that. Anyways, I cut this here at a level, knowing that I was going to be the one that was going to put this pole here in by myself. Okay, I guess this pole is probably about 18 foot, maybe 16 foot. It couldn't be used again by hooking it up directly to the power people, the electric people, because they changed their rules and regulations, and now you got to have a 24-foot pole, and 4 of it's got to be in the ground, and it's got to be at least 20 foot high. So because of it, it was no longer under their grandfather clause, was no longer going to be advisable once you pull it out and put it back in. It's no longer considered under the grandfather clause. But anyways, I had started doing this last night, and I knew that I had this cable up here, which is basically for my dog to run off of. That way he can still get his exercise. He's a big old dog. That way he can, and it's got a roller on it. It's got springs on it. That way it ain't gonna hurt him. Anyways, I knew that I had that up there, which was actually a good thing because it gave me an opportunity to set that up on the top of that right there and balance it, as well as put this board here, put this board here, a board here, and a board here. So what did I do? I thought last night, thinking, in which I didn't put into the equation pertaining to this one wire that I put on the back side right here that I'm going to hook on 110. That way I can plug up my refrigerator or whatever else that I'm on to right here, and hook some more wires and stuff up here for lights, extra lights. And this mantle right here, I didn't put into the equation of the mantle because it is it's a big bulb in there, and I had to take all that apart and rewire every bit of that. Had to rewire all that right there, had to rewire all that right there. So now I'm in the position out here towards, well, how exactly are you going to do this by yourself, Dennis? Well, God gave me an inspiration because I prayed last night, God, how in the world am I going to do this without having to get a tractor or some sort of a boom truck out here to be able to do this? So this is what God led me to believe. I'm going to take 2 planks like this one right here, which is give or take 10 foot long. Okay, it's a 2x4. I'm going to cut a 1/4 inch hole in the top, right up there, right there. I'm going to cut a 1/4 inch hole right there in it, and I'm going to cut another hole probably about right here, give or take about 3 foot. I'm going to cut a hole right there. All right, then I'm going to take a smaller plank. I'm going to cut a hole in it here and down here, and I'll be mounting that board to this hole along with another plank identical to it that will be cut with a hole up there and a hole down here, and I'll create a pyramid type deal. That way, as I'm moving the pole up, these 2 poles right here will slide, and this board right here will keep them separated. That way, as I'm going up, 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 it will balance itself, because that's one of the main concepts of trying to do something like this by yourself, is once you get it up so high, you also got to balance it. So hopefully this will work out, and I am planning on, as I'm doing this, I am planning on recording it, which will be on another recording other than the one you're watching right here. But I just wanted to cover that pertaining to what I'm engaged in. And like I said, whenever I make these videos out here, I ain't doing this for popularity purposes. I'm not doing this to enhance my acting career or whatever else you want to talk about, because I'm not an actor. All right? I'm not doing this for my own glory. I'm doing this for God's glory. I'm doing this to try to help people. I can put this swing out here pertaining to this fire pit that I put up, but the wind keeps blowing it off. Wind keeps blowing off. So what am I going to do here? Well, I'm going to have to drill a hole. I'm going to have to pivot something here, and I'm going to have to tie this swing set off, because every time the wind gets out, in which out here whenever you don't have trees to stop the wind, and the wind more than likely coming out of the south, the wind can become very sporadic around through here, doing like 35, 40, 45, 50 miles an hour. And if I don't do this in the proper way, I'm just going to continue to have this same problem again and again and again. Jack, you're using the bathroom on Jim's property. You ain't supposed to be over here poo-pooing over here on this side of the fence. I'm going to teach him those things, I guess. Anywho, it looks like their assignment towards getting all the wheat cut and baling up and getting out all taken care of. And as a matter of fact, Mr. Melvin, I guess it was his son, yesterday went ahead and put it in beans. I'm pretty sure it was beans yesterday. I think it's too late for corn. And actually, they're getting the beans in early this year, trying to catch the moisture still in the ground because of us being in a drought right now. But this corn out here looks good. They got a good stand of corn coming up. And they've done a remarkable job. Look here in a little bit. Gotta come out here nosy. See, it's getting to the point we can't go nowhere. Here comes another one right here. Me and Jack can't do nothing without these cats sitting out here watching us, observing us, wanting to know what's going on, just being nosy. I guess that's the curiosity in the cats. There's Sissy, there's Tiger, there's a little bit. Jack, over here. Come here. Come here, Bubba. Come here. There's a truck out here. Come here. Jack, right here. Jack, right here. Attaboy. And when our trucks come by, I don't know. I don't want my dog to be out there on the road. Because ordinarily, I do let him loose, but whenever I do, I monitor his movement out here. Anywho, I just wanted to make this particular video pretending things going on, and with the war and Donald Trump and dividing things up politically and spiritually, and rightfully dividing things the way that they need to be divided, and in doing certain projects out here that need to be done. And like I said, whenever I get involved in making these videos, I can't accept no telephone calls. Of course, it's got to the point now with the telephone calls, you don't know to answer the phone call or not unless there's a name that comes up on the telephone call, and it could actually be a crucial telephone call, but you don't answer it thinking that it's some sort of bogus telephone call. So it's got to the point of, as far as people being tormented and harassed on a day-to-day level pertaining to all the random telephone calls, it's got to the point that it's almost unbearable. It's absolutely got to the point that it's unbearable in the confusion that's going on today, especially with your insurance companies and not knowing if you're retired or you're fixed income, some sort of not knowing whether or not you're supposed to go with this one or that one. And then after you become involved with this one, well, then you'll have somebody else to call you. Well, let's look at this. And oh, no, you got the bad plan. You need to go with this plan. And then you go over to that plan, and it takes another 30 days to get everything activated. And it's just, I've never seen so much confusion as what is going on today with the American people pertaining to politics and etc. I've never seen it like it is right now, and it's become very, very dangerous whenever it's this unstable. Very dangerous, because you don't know what to believe, you don't know who to believe. It's just at random, and it's really sad because I've never seen America having this many issues at the same time coming at us from every direction, not knowing from one day to the next and what's going to happen, why it's going to happen, who it's going to happen to, and etc. The only thing I can say is God bless America. God bless our troops. God bless our endeavors towards which way that we go from this moment on, because I promise you, as things is getting more and more hairier every day, we're definitely in a crucial state towards needing it. May God have mercy on us all in what we do and how we do it and when we do it and where we do it and why we do it. As I travel through this pilgrim land, there is a friend who walks with me. As I kneel in prayer, I hope to meet you there, precious Jesus, hold my hand. Another vehicle coming down the road. Jack! Jack, come here. Right here. Come on. Vehicle coming down the road. I don't think they're coming over here. I think they're still working on that other field over there. Let's look real quick. I got you. Yep, they turned in up there. They're working on the bottom of Mr. Melvin Hill's field and planting it back over there on the other side of that house right there. So I can let him go. There you go, Jackie. Get back over here. He's a good dog. He really is. He's really filled a very crucial part of my mental health and my losing my son. And you know, that was another thing. Whenever I first come back to Tennessee in 2014, shortly after my brother died in 2017, I found these people that wanted to get rid of a dog over by Tiptonville, close to Tiptonville in Hornbeak, and they gave me a dog. And because the people was so opposed to me coming back here, man, they let it be known real quick about me getting this dog, and I guess they must have traced the people down that I got the dog, and the next thing you know, the woman was calling me back demanding for the dog to come back. Yeah. Demanding for the dog to come back, like I was going to be abusive to the animal. You'll be surprised at the things that I've had to deal with since I've come back here in Northwest Tennessee in 2014 pertaining to a group of people that was inconsiderate, very inconsiderate, that could have cared less about any and all the above going on in my life, because they had done already asphyxiated and stereotyped me to the degree that I was just a total criminal. I needed to be put away either in a straitjacket or incarcerated in jail, that I was a cruel person, and the whole time the cruel people was the people that was doing this to not only me, but all other of God's creatures that are trying to stand up and do the right things. And I still want to support Donald Trump pertaining to him doing what he's doing, even though I said on the very beginning the way that they was going to do it was going to be unsuccessful. The two-edged sword. The black and white. The good and bad. God bless. God bless America. And God bless our American troops in which way we go and stand with them. Shalom.